My late husband had a son he never told me about. Now my daughter wants to know her brother. My life was turned upside down last month when I was informed of my husband's death in a work-related accident. This would, of course, be hard enough to cope with, but shortly before the funeral, a young man appeared at my house claiming to be my late husband's son. My husband never spoke a word about him to me. This young man claimed that he didn't know about me or either of my daughters, ages 12 and 8, until he was notified of my husband's death and found the obituary in the online version of our local paper. The young man was 18 and must have been born before I met my husband. He also claimed that his own mother died years ago, and to his memory, was never in a relationship with my husband. So the boy's existence is not proof of infidelity on my husband's part. However, I still feel just as betrayed that my husband never breathed a word of him to me. This boy lives in the UK, where my husband sometimes worked. I live in the US. My husband traveled a lot in his line of work, and I can't help but wonder, how many other secret children did he have? How many times did my husband visit this boy and never told me about it? What else was he not telling me? The boy had pictures with himself and my husband at various ages. He says he was brought up in a boarding school, and my husband visited him sometimes. Though I very much want to, I have no reason to doubt his story. The boy asked to come to the funeral. I wanted to say no, but I felt like I had no right. My kids saw me talking to the stranger and poked their heads in to ask what was going on. Before I could stop him, the boy introduced himself to them as their half-brother. Now, not only do I have to figure out how to cope with all this information myself, but I also have to find some way to explain it to my children. My 8-year-old doesn't seem to grasp the full implications of her father keeping this kind of secret from all of us, but my 12-year-old is clearly upset, although she won't talk about it with me. At the funeral, the boy kind of lurked in the corner, but when lunch was served afterward, he approached both my girls and started playing games like tag with my 8-year-old and some of her friends who joined in. I didn't think this was appropriate, and when I told him so, he apologized and said he did it to raise her spirits. He added that it's what people did for him when his mother died, to cheer him up. Something about his answer irked me, and I got the impression he was trying to manipulate me into feeling sorry for him and using my children to do it. My mom and my sister came over to help me after I got the news about my husband. Of course, I talked to them about what was going on, and they were shocked. My mom brought up the point that the boy might be after money. All of our important assets were in both of our names, and I am the only beneficiary of his life insurance policy. But I wasn't sure what could happen if he tried to sue. I asked the boy frankly if money is what he was after, and he said, "No, I couldn't take any of your money. You have kids to take care of." It irked me the way he said that, as though I was offering money, and he was trying to show how good he was by turning it down. It felt as though he expected me to give it to him anyway. I asked the boy what he wanted, and he said he wanted to get to know my children because they're his sisters. In my opinion, they might be his sisters, but he's a stranger to them, regardless of biological relation. Apparently, at the funeral, he told my 8-year-old he was going to ask me if he could take my girls to the aquarium. So she got her hopes up about it before I could even make a decision. I said yes, but only if my mom or sister went with him, because I wasn't about to let my girls go with a strange man, no matter what. Over the next week, he also took my girls to the park, the ice cream place, and the lake, with my sister as a chaperone every time. I agreed to this, and it was helpful because it gave me a chance to break down and cry to my mom without the girls around. When he left, my 8-year-old hugged him and told him not to go, and he said, "I promise I'll come visit again." I stepped in and said, "No, I think it would be best if you didn't come back here." He looked hurt, and my 8-year-old cried, but I was sick of him promising things without getting approval. She thinks it's a cool mystery, like from a TV show, that she has a secret brother, and she doesn't realize how disturbing it is that her father hid his existence. My sister asked me later why I told him not to come back, and I told her I think the whole thing is weird. I don't know this boy or his real intentions. He could be some kind of weirdo trying to get my girls alone. My sister says I judge without ever getting to know him, and he seems like a very sweet young man. He grew up mostly without a family, and could have been jealous that my girls got all his father's attention. But instead, he wanted to connect with them. My opinion is that even if those are his intentions and he's totally innocent, I still don't want him around my home or my girls. To me, he is just proof that my husband lied to me for years, and it makes me sick to look at him. My girls don't need this drama either, and even my 8-year-old is going to be traumatized once she's old enough to realize how much her dad was hiding. My girls and I don't owe him anything. My sister says that while I don't have to want him in my life, I don't have the right to deny the girls their brother. She pointed out that social workers do everything they can to avoid separating siblings because of the trauma. I said it's not the same thing because my girls have only known this brother for a week. My sister said it's also important because my girl's brother is now the only person they know of their culture. My husband was 1/8 Hawaiian, the rest white and Asian. So the girls and their brother are like 1/16. The boy appears to be white, and my daughters and I are black. But this boy was raised in the UK, and he isn't part of Hawaiian culture. And honestly, I think culture is something natural and not something to force because of your genetics. My girls don't live in Hawaii, they live in Oregon, so that is their culture, not black culture or Hawaiian culture. I don't force myself or my girls to participate in African culture, just because of our genetics. I thought my 8-year-old would get over her brother, and she did go several weeks without asking about him. But yesterday she asked about him again. I feel bad about ever allowing them to go anywhere together and bond. I wish I'd handled the whole thing differently, and now I don't know how to explain the situation to my kids. My 12-year-old hasn't asked about her brother, but she has been extremely closed off since her father's death, and I don't know how this issue might be complicating what she's feeling. I just need outside opinions to know what to do about this. I felt like my daughters and I were not in a place to give anything emotionally or financially, so I recoiled from him. But that doesn't mean he's a threat. My kids went to therapy as well. My 12-year-old has weekly sessions. However, my 8-year-old hated it, so I pulled her out for now. Many people have shared their own stories of being separated from biological relatives and the effect it had on them. I don't understand it because genes don't mean much to me. However, I don't have to understand or respect it. I personally don't feel like I'm in any place to have any kind of relationship with my husband's son, and I don't think he wants one with me. He now appears scared of me, which I do feel bad about. I wasn't trying to hurt him or scare him, but I will allow him to visit sometime if my girls want to see him. My sister agreed to continue to supervise. As far as money goes, the lawyer advised me that there aren't many assets that the son is entitled to because they were in both my and my husband's name, except for a few investment accounts that were only in my husband's name, thankfully not where the majority of our savings are. I know people think I'm an evil witch for caring about money, but I need it to feed, clothe, and educate my own children. I don't feel like I really count as a step-parent. I don't know if I'm in the right place for this. When I went to other subs for advice, it felt like an angry mob, and I'm hoping people here might be able to relate to some of the things I'm going through. I didn't know my husband had a son until after I became a widow. His son is 18 and lives in the UK, where my husband regularly visited him without telling me. My husband apparently kept our family, myself and my 2 daughters, a secret from his son as well. The son found out about us after my husband died and showed up at my door to introduce himself. I didn't handle it well at the time. I was in a fog and not prepared to process anything, let alone the fact that my husband had been hiding a secret of such magnitude from me. I let him get close to my daughters, but when he said he would come back to visit, I reacted negatively and told him not to come back. After talking things through with my mother and sister, I realized that I didn't have the right to keep my daughters from their brother if they wanted a relationship with him. I reached out to the boy to confirm his story and decide on a time to visit. It was supposed to be late next month. My sister was supposed to come out and help supervise all interaction between my children and their brother because I am not mentally prepared to be around him. And I'm not sure I ever will be. Even though I know my feelings are irrational, I honestly want nothing to do with this boy. I know my husband's behavior is not his fault and that he is a victim too, but even just looking at his face is a reminder that my husband lied to me for our entire relationship. If I had known he had a child, I might have chosen a different life. I got pregnant in college with my oldest. He was older with a stable job and able to provide for me and my child. He made all these promises. He'd take care of me. He'd take care of our baby. He'd help me get through college. He'd be the good father he never had, and he already had a child he wasn't raising. God, if I'd known that, I might have had an abortion and walked away. I fell in love with him when he said those things, and now I feel like the person I fell in love with never even existed. I don't know if he ever loved me or our kids. I don't know if he was playing a game with us or using us to build an image. I don't know if he was faithful to me on all those overseas trips. I can't trust anything he ever told me anymore. None of this is his son's fault. He's innocent, I know that. But even remembering his existence brings up so many feelings I can't deal with, which is why my sister said she would help supervise. She played chaperone when my husband's son was getting to know my kids, and eventually, she said she'd be willing to do it again. We picked a time, and she said she'd be there. Today, she tells me she can't do it. Her job is understaffed, and she can't get the time off work. My mom can't do it either. She has a surgery coming up and won't be able to travel. My dad will also need to be home to take care of her. I am not going to leave my kids alone with their brother, as my sister suggested, since he is frankly still a stranger to me and to them. There might be a 99% chance he has pure intentions, but that 1% chance isn't what I'm willing to take. There are all kinds of stories out there about children being abused by trusted family members. So my only options are to cancel the visit, which my kids, especially my 8-year-old, are looking forward to. And I don't want to take away one of the few things they've been able to feel happy about since my husband died, or be the chaperone myself. This will also mean I need to take time off work. I can manage, but it's not ideal. I just don't think I can do it. I didn't choose to be a stepmother. I'm sure the boy doesn't really want me as one either. I apparently scared him when I told him not to come back, and when we talked on Zoom since then, he acted nervous and flinchy, like he was afraid I was about to hit him or something. I feel bad about that, as it wasn't my intention. I don't think I can do this. I feel like the meeting is a disaster waiting to happen, like it's only a matter of time before I lose my temper and ruin the meeting that my kids have been looking forward to. I just have this feeling of dread. I don't know if anyone can help. Maybe it's a long shot. I have therapy on Thursday, and I hope it'll help me sort things out. I just feel like I can't do this. It's humiliating to even share this problem with anyone, and even if I try to talk things out with one of the few people I do trust. It's always think about your kids, think about your husband's son, put yourself in their shoes. People even show more sympathy for my husband than for me. Maybe it was a coping mechanism for his childhood trauma. Maybe he had a good reason. I'm just burnt out on putting everyone else first and trying to fill the role of both parents for my kids. Right now I feel like it's only so long before I snap, and the rope just got a lot thinner. Edit. Thank you for the kind words and advice. When I posted, I was thrown for a loop and on the verge of a mental breakdown. Having had time to sleep on it, I feel that things are going to turn out okay. I'll look into some of your suggestions, such as professional nanny or babysitting services to go along with them. My sister has also said she may be able to work remotely during those weeks and be able to supervise while the kids hang out in his hotel room, McDonald's, the library, or somewhere else while she can work while watching. Not ideal because it means they would have to cancel some planned activities. Canceling or postponing the trip would be a last resort. I won't make any decisions rashly. I'm going to take a few days to think about things, talk it out with my therapist on Thursday, and have a definite answer by Monday. It might not be impossible for me to supervise. At first, I panicked because I didn't think I would have to and felt unprepared, but I might be able to psych myself up for it with time. I've been through worse trials than this. Sometimes I just need to remind myself that I'm stronger than I feel. I appreciate the kindness and civility from this community. I wasn't sure if my post belonged here, but you all seem much more understanding than other subs, and I truly appreciate it. I don't think I'm going to post in this community anymore, as I don't really count as a step-parent, but I got some kind words from people here previously. I just wanted to say thank you all for being kind to me and presenting me with solutions when I was overwhelmed and panicking, and let you all know how the visit went. He stayed for about 1.5 weeks. Before he came over, we talked a few times on Zoom with me, him, and his grandparents. I told him my sister was not going to be able to supervise, and I was frank about how apprehensive I was feeling about being the one to supervise. I don't think he was thrilled about me supervising either. He knew and felt comfortable with my sister, not me, so the feeling was mutual. But we decided to go ahead with the visit anyway. We made a few changes in what they had previously planned when my sister was going to supervise, but not many. We also discussed contingency plans. One suggestion was that I could ask my in-laws if they could come to supervise instead, but they said they wouldn't be able to. Instead, they gave me the number for a retired nanny service where they live, who agreed to watch them while they did some activities. They stayed in a hotel and did a lot of the planned activities together. He got a separate hotel room for himself, and my kids had a room of their own, and they visited each other during the day, then went back to their separate rooms. We had a plan where I'd stay back for a few days, watch them during some of their activities, then let the nanny do her thing for a while, then check in with them again afterward. I needed some time to mentally prepare and relax after everything, but after a few days, I felt ready to be more directly involved. I did my best to stay calm and friendly. There was a lot of awkwardness at first, but I didn't blow up at him or lose my temper. I made it through the week. My kids, especially my 8-year-old, seemed to have had a blast. The boy wasn't used to having little sisters, but I can tell he did his best to make it work and keep them happy. He was very considerate with them, and it made me feel like he's a kind and decent person. I don't think we'll ever be close. He's a reminder of things I'm not sure I can forgive my husband for. But I did try to make small talk and get to know him a little. I'm going to have my sister take over again next time, but I think it's going to be okay. He was gone for 3 days before I realized that I didn't feel that awful sense of dread when I saw him. Maybe that's progress. This visit was for them, not me. But I'm glad I got through it, and it didn't turn out as bad as I thought. Right now, he's back in the UK. We may have him over again for a few weeks this winter if my sister can supervise. He's now in regular contact with my kids, and they've been keeping in touch over WhatsApp and playing online games together. All in all, I'm satisfied with how it turned out, and I'm glad I didn't cancel or postpone it. Thanks for the advice and kind words.